After my divorce, my family didn't just side with my ex-wife, they literally replaced me with her. They invited her to Thanksgiving and told me, "You can come if you promise not to make your pathetic scene." I replied, "Don't bother, I'd rather dine with strangers than sit at a table with traitors." 5 days later, I made one move that blew up their cozy world. My cousin called in tears, "Everything is falling apart, help us restore it." You know, I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets replaced in his own family. But here I am, staring at my phone, watching my mother's group chat light up with photos of a family dinner I wasn't even invited to. And right there, front and center, is my ex-wife, Jessica, holding my mother's hand, laughing, like she's still part of them. But I guess I should start from the beginning. Jessica and I were married for nearly 6 years. It wasn't some epic romance, but we had good times. I won't lie, part of the breakup was on me. I've always been a bit blunt, never the type to sugarcoat my thoughts. Jessica was the opposite. She needed everyone to like her, bending over backward to be the nice one in every situation. I used to admire it, but after a while it felt like living with a performer, someone who was always on stage. We divorced a year and a half ago. It wasn't messy in the legal sense, but it was a slow, quiet collapse. I thought once it was over, we'd both move on. I'd rebuild, she'd find her new path, and that would be that. But I never expected what happened next. At first, it was subtle. Family group chats didn't include me anymore. My mom, Linda, would text me less, and when she did, it was short and distant. I figured they were just giving me space. I was wrong. One night, I was scrolling through social media, and there she was, Jessica, smiling with my cousin Zach, my Aunt Carol, even my mom. They were at some paint night, and Jessica was right in the center of it all. I wasn't tagged, I wasn't mentioned. Hell, I didn't even know it was happening. I thought maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe they were just being polite, keeping things civil. I tried to tell myself it wasn't a big deal. But then it kept happening. Family brunches, pumpkin patch trips, even casual get-togethers, Jessica was always there, and I was just not. I finally confronted my mom about it. Called her up and asked, "Mom, why is Jessica still coming to everything?" And she sighed, that tired, disappointed sigh she always uses when she thinks I'm being dramatic. "Nate, she's family. She's been such a support to all of us. You know how helpful she is." Helpful. That word started to feel like a knife every time I heard it. Helpful? To who? Not to me. I was her husband and she left me. But somehow she was the one who got to stay with my family? It didn't take long for it to get worse. I started noticing that Jessica wasn't just visiting, they were treating her like she belonged. She had her own mug at my mom's house. Her pictures started showing up in family photos that weren't even from events I was invited to. Then came the Thanksgiving fiasco. Mom called me 2 weeks before and said I could come, but only if I promised not to make a scene. Make a scene? I hadn't even seen these people in months. I asked her what she meant, and she went off about how Jessica had been so supportive, always there for her, helping around the house, listening when she needed to vent. I asked, "So Jessica's coming then?" And she said, "Of course. She's family." I felt something snap inside me. Family. Jessica was their family, and I was just, what? A problem? An embarrassment? I told Mom I'd rather eat with strangers than sit with a bunch of traitors, and she just hung up on me. Slammed the phone down like she always does when she doesn't want to hear the truth. I tried to reach out to my cousin Zach, hoping maybe he'd give me some clarity. I asked him if this was some kind of joke, if they all just decided to replace me with Jessica. He told me not to make it about me. Apparently, Jessica's been through a lot. Like I was just some selfish jerk who didn't care. I tried my sister Sophie next. She's usually the one who can talk sense. But even she seemed tired of it all. "Look, Jessica's just easy, you know? She bakes, she helps out, she doesn't make things tense." I didn't make things tense. I just didn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. Thanksgiving came and I didn't go. I stayed in my apartment, scrolling my phone, trying not to care. But then I got the picture. My Aunt Carol sent a photo in the group chat, everyone smiling around the table, and there was Jessica, front and center, holding my mom's hand. My spot at the table was empty. That was it. I knew then that I wasn't just being paranoid. They had chosen her over me. My own family. I felt angry, humiliated, and powerless all at once. But I wasn't going to just take it. Not this time. So I started keeping track. I made a list in my phone every time Jessica took over something I used to do for them, every time they included her and left me out. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew I wasn't going to just let them erase me. If they wanted Jessica, they could have her. But they weren't getting both of us. This was just the beginning. I thought they would eventually get tired and just move on. That they'd figure it out, pick up the pieces, and go back to pretending I didn't matter. But I was wrong. They didn't move on. They broke. It started small. The group chat, which I had left, became a storm of desperate messages. At first, it was just Mom asking where I was, why I wasn't responding. Then Dad chimed in, his usual authoritative tone turning frantic. My brother Nate tried guilt, tried jokes, tried anger. Nothing worked. Then they showed up at the house. I was sitting in my basement apartment, just trying to enjoy the quiet, when I heard the pounding on the door. My mom's voice, loud and panicked. Michael, please. Talk to us. I didn't move. Just sat there, watching the shadows of their feet under the doorframe. They pounded again. Dad's voice joined in, grumbling about how I was acting childish. Then Nate, swearing and demanding I stop this nonsense. Eventually, they left. I waited, heart racing, until the sound of their car pulling out of the driveway faded. But they didn't give up. They called. They texted. I ignored them. I watched the messages pile up, going from anger to pleading to despair. The house above me became a storm of frustration. My parents arguing, Nate showing up and shouting before storming out. They were unraveling without me. And I won't lie, part of me felt vindicated. For once, they were feeling what I had felt. The loneliness. The helplessness. The frustration of being ignored. I saw it in the way the yard became overgrown, the mailbox overflowed, the trash piled up. They couldn't keep up with it all. But the guilt was there too. I wasn't heartless. I heard Mom crying one night, muffled through the floorboards. Dad tried to calm her, but even he sounded unsure. Nate's car showed up more and more, his voice louder, angrier. And then the calls started coming from other family members. My aunt, my uncle, even my cousin. All of them trying to play peacemaker. Mike, it's family. Can't you just talk to them? They're really struggling without you. I know they messed up, but you can't just shut them out. I told them all the same thing. I didn't shut them out. They shut me out first. But the pressure kept building. I tried to focus on myself, on my recovery, but the noise didn't stop. Every day, another voicemail. Another text. Another message trying to make me feel guilty for choosing myself. Finally, one morning, I woke up to 32 unread messages. I counted. 32. Please, talk to us. We're sorry. We didn't mean it. Just come upstairs. We'll talk. I stared at the messages for a long time. I wanted to feel relief or satisfaction, but all I felt was tired. Exhausted. This was never what I wanted. I didn't want them broken. I just wanted them to see me. To value me. To care. But they didn't. Not until they needed me. I didn't reply. I just put my phone on silent and went about my day. But they didn't stop. They left notes on my door. They tried leaving food, which I just left sitting there. They kept trying to fix things, but without actually facing what they'd done. Eventually, I knew I had to face them. So one evening, when I heard their car pull up again, I went upstairs and opened the door. My mom's eyes were red, Dad looked worn down, and Nate looked angry and embarrassed. We just want to talk, Mom whispered, tears already welling up. Talk, I said, arms crossed. They stumbled over their words, trying to explain, trying to justify, trying to blame each other. But it was all just noise. You left me. After surgery. Alone. And when I asked for help, you acted like I was a burden, I said, voice steady. We thought you were fine, Dad muttered. You didn't check. You didn't care. You went skiing. Silence. We made a mistake, Mom finally whispered. We're sorry. Are you sorry? Or are you just scared now that I'm not your backup plan? Nate tried to interrupt, but I cut him off. Every time I needed you, I was a problem. But whenever you needed me, I was the solution. That's not family. So what, you're just going to cut us off forever? Nate snapped. If that's what it takes. More silence. More awkwardness. Eventually, they left. I didn't feel triumphant. Just empty. Over the next few days, the messages slowed. The calls faded. They started trying to rebuild without me. I heard Dad mowing the lawn, struggling. I saw Nate's car less and less. And I started to heal. My knee got stronger. I walked more. I spent time doing things I enjoyed. I even met a few neighbors who weren't just strangers anymore. One day, I got a text from Mom. We're having dinner. If you want to come. No pressure. I didn't reply right away. I thought about it. About all of it. About how they treated me. About how I finally stood up for myself. And I didn't go. I wasn't ready yet. Maybe one day, but not now. I don't know if this is a happy ending, but it's my ending. I had enough. I wasn't just going to sit there while they erased me from my own family. It was time to push back. I texted everyone. Mom, Zach, Carol, and Sophie. We need to talk about the cabin, the money, and everything else. Family meeting. No Jessica. Just us. I didn't wait for them to agree. I set the date and time. If they cared at all, they'd show up. Sophie was the first to respond. I'll come. But if this is just another fight, I'm out. Zach just wrote, don't make it a drama, dude. Carol left me on read. And my mom, well, she called me an hour later, already irritated. What is this about? You're not going to stir up trouble, are you? Stir up trouble? I'm trying to figure out why my own family thinks I'm a ghost. I shot back. Why is Jessica running everything? Why is she making decisions about the cabin? Why does she have access to your accounts? Oh, for heaven's sake, Nate, she's just helping. You're always too busy, always arguing with everyone. Jessica makes things easier. That word again, easier. But I didn't back down this time. She makes it easier for you to forget I exist. But I'm done being a shadow. See you at the meeting. I spent the next few days preparing. I printed out everything, screenshots of group chats I wasn't included in, pictures of family gatherings I wasn't invited to, and even the texts where they told me Jessica was helping with the cabin. The day of the meeting, I showed up at Mom's house early. The living room was awkwardly quiet, like they all knew a storm was coming. Sophie was there, sitting on the couch with her arms crossed, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Zach was leaning against the kitchen counter, his face already set in a frown. Carol hadn't shown up yet. Mom walked in, her expression tight. Nate, you better not make this a fight. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to get answers. I told her, keeping my voice steady. A few minutes later, Carol finally arrived, her face already exasperated. Let's just get this over with, she muttered. I didn't waste time. I want to know why Jessica has become your new favorite family member. Why she's handling the cabin, making decisions, and even has access to Mom's accounts. Zach sighed. Dude, you're overreacting. Jessica just helps out. Helps out? By taking over my place in this family. I shot back, tossing the printed screenshots on the table. This is Jessica planning the summer trip to the cabin. Jessica setting up autopay for the bills. Jessica being invited to family dinners while I'm not even told they're happening. Mom tried to speak, but I cut her off. I've had enough of being the outsider in my own family. I pay my share of the cabin. My name is on that property. But you're acting like it belongs to her. Nate, please. You're just making things harder? Mom muttered, rubbing her forehead. No, you're making things easier by pretending I don't exist. My voice rose. Jessica is not family. She's my ex. But you've made her more important than your own son. Carol finally spoke up, crossing her arms. She's been there for us, Nate. She's helped your mother with so much. You're always too busy or too angry. Angry? Yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry that you replaced me with someone who's good at playing nice. But she's not family. Sophie shifted uncomfortably. This is just so dramatic. Can we not fight? It's not drama, Sophie. It's my life, and I'm not letting it get rewritten. I leaned forward, locking eyes with each of them. Here's how this works. Jessica doesn't touch the cabin. She doesn't manage the bills. She doesn't have access to Mom's accounts. And if I find out she's making decisions without me again, I will get a lawyer involved. Mom gasped. You wouldn't. Try me? I said, my voice cold. You've erased me once. I won't let it happen again. Zach shook his head. Man, you're just being paranoid. No one's trying to erase you. Then why is she in every family picture? Why is she the one you call when you need help? Why do I feel like a stranger in my own family? I demanded. Nobody had an answer. After a long, painful silence, Sophie finally muttered, This is too much. Can we just make some rules? Yeah, here's a rule, I said. Jessica stays out of our family business. Period. Mom looked at me, her eyes hardening. If you just come around more, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I'm not going to come around just to watch you all pretend she's me. I shot back. Either you remember who your son is, or you don't. I grabbed my stack of papers, shoved them into my bag, and stood up. If you want to play family with my ex, go ahead. But I'm not going to let her take what's mine. I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel helpless. I felt ready. They wanted to replace me. They wanted to pretend Jessica was the perfect, easy daughter they never had. But they were about to learn that replacing me wasn't going to be so simple. Leaving that meeting wasn't the end of it. Not even close. If anything, it was just the beginning. The very next day, I went to the management office for the cabin and told them to freeze any changes to the property without my explicit approval. No repairs, no bookings, nothing. I wanted it in writing that nothing could happen without my signature. Then I went to the bank. I took my name off any joint accounts that Jessica had touched. I explained to the manager that someone who wasn't part of the family anymore had gained access and they flagged the accounts for third-party access. I wanted it locked down tight. I wasn't playing around. Mom called me that evening, her voice tight with anger. "Nate, why is my online banking not working? It says I need to reset everything." "Because you gave my ex access to your finances," I said flatly. "And I'm not going to sit around and let someone who has no business in our family run your life." Jessica was just helping, she snapped. "Helping by taking over. But if you want her so badly, fine. But she's not touching anything that involves me." Mom hung up on me. I wasn't even surprised. A few days later, the fallout began. The family group chat blew up with messages. Zach complained that the cabin trip was ruined because now nobody knew who was in charge of the repairs. Carol was furious, saying I was being petty and vindictive. Sophie just kept trying to play peacemaker, saying we should all calm down. But I wasn't calming down. Not now. Jessica texted me. I ignored her. Then she called. Voicemail. Finally, she sent a long message saying, "Can we just talk? This is hurting everyone." I blocked her. I told myself I didn't care. That they made their choice. But a part of me was still angry, not just at them, but at myself. How did I let it get this far? How did I become so disposable? But I wasn't going to be disposable anymore. Then came the legal side. I dug up the original cabin agreement my grandmother had written. It clearly stated that the property was to be co-owned by me, Sophie, and Zach. No one else. I had just let Jessica handle things because I trusted my family. Not anymore. I sent a legal notice to the family explaining that any changes to the cabin's management or expenses needed my written consent. I even copied the management office. And just like that, the entire situation changed. Mom tried calling again, but I didn't pick up. I texted her instead. "If you want to talk about the cabin or money, we do it in writing." No more Jessica said or Jessica did. I'm done. Sophie came by my place a few days later. She looked exhausted. "Nate, this is a mess. Mom's losing it. Carol won't talk to anyone. Zach's blaming you for everything." "Blaming me? I'm the one who got pushed out of my own family," I shot back. "I know," she whispered, sinking into my couch. "But I just wanted it to stop. I thought if everyone got along, it would be okay." "Getting along means ignoring me? Replacing me with Jessica?" I demanded. "I didn't want that," she insisted. "I just didn't want the fighting." "Well, you got it. No fighting, just pretending I don't exist." She didn't have an answer. Days turned into weeks and the fallout only grew. Mom tried to guilt-trip me, saying Grandma would have been heartbroken to see the family tearing apart. I told her Grandma would be more heartbroken to see how they replaced me with an outsider. Carol tried to rally everyone to override my decision, but she couldn't. Legally, they needed my consent for anything related to the cabin. Zach tried playing the middleman, but I refused to give in. Jessica even showed up at my building once. Security called me, saying there was a woman asking to see me. I told them I didn't know her. But for every angry call, every guilt-tripping text, I stayed firm. They had already pushed me out. I was just making sure they couldn't pretend it was my fault. It took almost 2 months for them to finally start talking sense. Sophie reached out first, asking if I'd be willing to sit down with just her and Mom. I agreed, but on my terms, no Jessica, no Carol, and nothing would change without my approval. Mom cried. She said she missed how things used to be. I told her I missed having a family that didn't treat me like a problem. Sophie tried to broker peace, but I wasn't going to let them just brush this under the rug. If you want me in your life, then Jessica is out of it. No more group chats, no more family dinners, no more pretending she's me, I said. Mom looked at me, her tears drying. "You're so bitter." "No, I just finally see how you all chose easy over honest. We didn't walk out of there as a happy family. But they knew where I stood. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the outsider. I felt like someone who had finally drawn a line. Jessica lost everything she tried to take. The cabin was locked down, the finances were out of her reach, and my family couldn't just use her as a replacement anymore. I wasn't sure what the next holiday would look like. I didn't know if I'd ever really feel like part of the family again. But I knew one thing: I wouldn't be erased. And if they wanted me in their lives, they'd have to remember who I was first.